So during the recent history of college football, I would argue over the past 25 to 30 years that the Pac-12 has produced the best quarterbacks in college football. That could be argued right now, but for the past 25, 30 years, I think I'm in decent shape in making that comment. Talking about the quarterbacking situation this season coming up in 2015, we bring in two Pac-12 bloggers and experts. Don King of Last Word on Sports covers mostly Stanford, but the entire college football scene, along with Shane Roberts of the Block U on the SB Nation platform for Utah Athletics. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. This should be a whole lot of fun as we run down a series of top 5 lists at each position in the Pac-12. So, Shane, let's start with you. Let's hear your top 5 quarterbacks coming into 2015.
You know, as I was looking over the list of returning quarterbacks, it really struck me how many quarterbacks left the conference from this past season. I mean, there was some major attrition. So the list is, frankly, I think a lot of it you can just pull out of a basket. You might be fine. But I'm lead number 1 with Cody Kessler from USC. He might be the most stable quarterback in the Pac-12. He only had, I want to say, around 7 interceptions last year. He was very solid. He's not going to blow your socks off in any stretch of the imagination. I don't dare say he's anywhere near like a Heisman contender, like a Marcus Mariota or even like a Brett Hundley. But he's very solid, very consistent. You can count on him. Behind him, Jared Goff from Cal. The dude just slings it all over the park. He's always had really good wide receivers, but his offensive line has been shaky at best, and the dude just puts up yards and chunks. So I'm a big fan of Jared Goff and what he can do. Behind him, I feel like he can it really kind of gets jumbled from there. I have Anu Solomon from Arizona. The kid had a very good freshman year. He was consistent for the most part, but he had some downs, specifically in the bowl game against Boise State. But as a true freshman, the kid balled out and played really, really well. After him, I have my guy. I have Travis Wilson. Travis has showed he's won a bunch of big games. He's beaten Stanford twice. He's beaten SC in the last second. The dude is nails when it comes down to the end of the game. Last year, he kind of had the handcuffs put on him a little bit, and even in those circumstances, he performed well. And then lastly, in the top 5, I have Mike Berkovici, because that dude can sling it all over the park, and he's just a gunner. I'd be very interested to see what he does over the full span of a season, but I like what I've seen for him in the about 5-game sample that we saw from him in the 2014 season.
All right, Shane Roberts from the Block U on the Utah platform for SB Nation joining us to run down his top 5 Pac-12 quarterbacks. And now we go to you, Don King, Last Word on Sports, and we'd love to hear your top 5 list, and then we can compare the 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shane, we've got some pretty decent agreement where we're going to line up on 4 out of the 5. I'm not going to be with you on your guy from the Block U, although I was mighty impressed with him up in the big house in Michigan last year and the way he pulled that out. Very gutty. And he's clearly a very capable quarterback, but I've got him just outside my top 5. I agree with you on number 1, though. I've got Cody Kessler at USC in the number 1 slot in 2015 among Pac-12 QBs. And it's just as you said, he is much more a game manager than anything else. But you know what? He's a pretty daggone good game manager. And that team is loaded. They're solid from top to bottom. I think his offensive line is going to be very stout this year, and I think he's going to perform quite well for the Trojans. I mixed things up a little. My number 2 was a name who also appeared on your list, but you had him quite a bit lower. I've got Arizona State's Mike Berkovici at number 2. I think that kid is an absolute stud, and I might even argue that he should have kept the starting job last season for Arizona State over Taylor Kelly. I think he was playing better at that point in the season. It's hard to scoff at the reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year going back to the guy who had kind of gotten it done for him, and so you can't be upset with that move. But I think Berkovici is going to be a star this season, and I could see him possibly being the first team All Pac-12 QB. I think he's got that much talent. He's got a huge arm and absolutely could get it done. At number 3, I've got your guy who was at number 2, Jared Goff at Cal. Similar reasoning, big kid, strong arm. His biggest issue is not him. His biggest issue is if Cal's offensive line can keep opposing pass rushes off him and he can stay up off of his back, because it's awfully hard to play well from a prone position. But he's an absolute stud of a QB, and probably, I don't think I'm speaking way over my head here. I think he might very well be the best pro prospect of any starter in the Pac-12 this season. Number 4, I've got Anu Solomon from Arizona. To your point earlier, just had a fabulous redshirt freshman season. I think the kid's a gamer. Had the big win over Cal on the last-second Hail Mary, but did a ton of good things throughout the year. I think they're going to have to rely on him to stay in the pocket a little better and protect himself a little more going forward, but I expect that to be part of his progression as he learns how to play quarterback in big-time college football. And number 5, I'm going homer on this one. I'm going to go with Stanford's Kevin Hogan.
How did I know this, Don?
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. And it's really based on 2 things. Number 1, his performance in the last 3 games last season when he absolutely lit it up. And that is after admittedly being inconsistent at best across the first 9 or 10 games of last campaign. But in the last 3 games, including the bowl game, the kid was just money. And it's easy to forget at this point. He's been around forever, since his redshirt freshman season, and he's won 26 football games, which is pretty daggone impressive. I don't know that there's anybody else in the conference who could say that. He has been there. This will be his 3rd full season now as a starter, and he's won a couple of conference championships and has an 11-win season under his belt. So, mechanically, he's not the most sound guy in the world, not even close. But he is a gamer, and he has gotten it done time and time again, often on a very big stage for the Cardinal.
So, Don, as Shane alludes to, the conference loses a ton of talent from 2014, most notably the Heisman Trophy winner. Also, Connor Halliday, who was the typical Mike Leach product in throwing the football all over the field, 70, 75 attempts at times. Brett Hundley, of course, the era there at UCLA is over. Taylor Kelly, you allude to Berkovici possibly being the better choice, but Kelly still was extremely solid, 22 touchdowns, 5 picks. So one question I've got for you two as you line up the top 5, because I think this is an interesting way to look at ranking any position, especially quarterback, because of the support that's needed. So did you rank them basically on regardless of the personnel around them? If the personnel around them is of high school caliber, but I think this is the best quarterback, and the numbers may not reflect it because he may not get the help, or were you ranking them based on what you project the statistics to be because of the supporting cast and taking that into consideration? Don.
Yeah, for me it's the latter, to be clear. I think Goff is the best quarterback in the conference. I just don't think he's going to have enough help to show it. Based on the supporting cast, returning players, starters, particularly across the offensive line, and projected starters at the other key skill positions, I think Kessler at SC and Berkovici at Arizona State are in the best shape.
What do you say there, Shane?
I agree. I factored supporting cast into it quite a bit. I think Goff just has the ability to get the ball off really quickly, and that helps overcome any fallback he has. Berkovici, the reason I docked him a little bit is just because I want to see it for a full season, and I'm not sure. They lost quite a few people, namely Jalen Strong and a couple other guys, so I still have a couple question marks about him, but I hear the points on him absolutely. And then the reason I put my guy Travis on there is, and we'll get this into another video, I think he has the best running back in the conference sitting behind him, which I think will help him out immensely.
That is an excellent point, and I agree with you. He is the best running back in the conference.
Okay, I'm in trouble on a couple lists here already then. So this is one of the reasons I bring that up, and reflects how strongly I feel about Kessler and Goff. I rank the top 10 nationally, and I went with Kessler 2 and Goff 3 nationally. So
Wow.
my top 5 looks like Cody Kessler at number 1, 39 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 70% completion percentage. So Goff, to both of your points, is possibly, no, not possibly, he's almost without question the best pro prospect. He hangs in there against the pass rush. He surveys the field. He makes great decisions. He's really developing into a great quarterback. He basically had one bad game. That was against Stanford, 2 picks in that one, but 35 touchdowns, 7 picks. I went with Kevin Hogan. Maybe I'm overestimating your guy there. Kevin Hogan of Stanford coming into his senior season. He did have a couple rough outings against Arizona State and Notre Dame. Also, not a lot of passing yardage against Utah, but threw for 66%. Berkovici, you guys both like. I've got him at number 4. He's coming into his senior season, a kid that only had 7 attempts coming into his junior campaign, but really took off. And for a kid to just step into the starting lineup with no experience, beat USC and Stanford, throw 6 TDs against no picks in those 2 games. And then at number 5, I've got the Arizona kid as a freshman, Anu Solomon, had a great year, and he was sacked 38 times, so I don't know if he's holding the ball too much or the offensive line not contributing as well as they should. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but man, under that Rich Rod offense, 73 attempts against Cal and 72 against USC, threw 28 touchdown passes, and he did have a couple clunkers in there, but again, just as a freshman, he's got a lot of time there to log in Arizona to improve. So again, we got Shane with Kessler 1, Goff 2, Solomon 3, his man Travis Wilson at 4, and Berkovici at 5. Kessler at number 1 for Don, Berkovici, Goff at number 3, Solomon, and Kevin Hogan from Stanford. All right, gentlemen, appreciate the conversation on the top 5 quarterbacks, and we've got a whole lot of other positions to run down, so we will catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.